Welcome to Past the Projections.
Fantasy experts, really. You should really consider us the pinnacle of fantasy football knowledge.
The host, Adam Skinner, the coach. There was a lot of debate on whether or not he would be that great. The guru, Thomas Lozano.
Kid's a playmaker, like you touched on there for a second.
Statman, Danny Pert.
Definitely a touchdown threat. Love the frame, love what I saw from him.
The wizard, Chris Roth.
Solid player with good floors.
The coach, the guru, the statistician, and the wizard. Talking fantasy football, Dynasty League specifically.
I just come here because I like to talk. And if you want to listen to me, it's completely on you.
Don't think I don't hear you out there, Thomas, talking about being the guru. You are the guru. We come to you for this expert information, and I expect nothing less than that from you today. Welcome again, Past the Projections crew, as always. Adam Skinner here, Thomas Lozano, Chris Roth. Danny Pert is out again with the baby, but threatening to make an appearance next week after the draft. Will this happen? It's scheduled, right?
Yeah, we're penciled in, I believe.
Penciled in. That's amazing.
He's officially scheduled to come up here to the studio and hang out, watch the draft, and we might get some recording going on.
Speaking of the draft, we're going to do a special on Thursday night after the draft. Quick, rapid reactions on the first round of the draft. You'll hear what we think about the landing spots and obviously what it means for the weekend and potential other landing spots for other big name targets that we are talking about today. Which, getting to today's topic, we're going to start talking about we're going to rank our prospects and give you who we think are the best at each position: quarterback, running back, receiver, and tight end. And then we're going to give you who we think is worth looking at regardless of landing spot, who's worth looking at depending on landing spot, who's really depending on landing spot to be relevant in fantasy, and then obviously the people who are just don't deserve to be on lists, which I think, honestly, there's a little overrating in this draft. Does that happen every year, though, guys?
Yeah, we're hyping them up. That's what you want to do. You want to blow smoke, especially this time of the year. We know what the veterans all can do, and now we want to sit and hype up the new hotness, So once they all come in, though, some of that hype gets derailed really fast. But at the same time, some of that steak has the sizzle,
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's all the teams who are just like, oh, this is that time. All those picks I traded for. I've seen some teams, people talking about, they're like, oh, I have pick 1-2 or 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, 1-6, 1-8. You're like, Jesus. Like, do you have anyone on your team? It sounds like a Danny Pert kind of move with his pick trading.
Yes, it does. I mean, it's also such a limited pool you're pulling from. So if we're talking about, say, like, the best running back, they can be the best running back of the draft, but are they the best running back of, say, the decade? No, most likely not.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I'm more in that boat too. It's I think people overvalue draft picks, and I think you can get a lot more for them. And this is the time of year where we do that, but it doesn't make it any less exciting. This is still really fun to talk about, and I really love looking at this draft class and seeing all these different players and kind of waiting for the draft on Thursday and seeing where they land.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm really excited about the draft, especially the first round. Yeah. Obviously, we know it's going to go quarterback, potential quarterback at 4. But then it kind of opens up from there, and we're going to see a lot of these playmakers come off the board pretty early. Definitely the Pitts, the Chases, the Smiths. We're going to see those guys come off early, but then once you get in that 12 to 20 range, that's what we're going to keep our eye on, because that's when we're going to see some of these playmakers hit their landing spots, and that's when all the real speculation begins.
Yeah, potential for at least 5 to 10. Mm-hmm. I mean, not 10, but 5 receivers being drafted in the first round is pretty high potential this year. Yeah. Might see a running back or 2. We'll find out, I guess, more on Thursday.
Yeah, I'll say 7 or 8 for sure in the first round.
Yeah,
wide receivers. There's a lot of very good wide receivers.
Entirely too much wide receiver talent. That's definitely the key in this draft. But before that, we're going to actually get into what we're going to start this week, talking about current events. We're going to kind of give a little recap of what's happening around the league and things that are worthy of talking about. And the top one on our list this week was the big Ravens-Chiefs trade. Orlando Brown heading to the Chiefs for a first-round pick and a third and a fourth. More like a swap. It's Orlando Brown and the 58th pick and a 6th rounder next year go to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are giving up their 1st round pick this year, a 3rd and a 4th, and a 6th round or a 5th rounder next year. So, rapid reaction wise, Thomas, what do you think about that trade for the Chiefs? And what does that mean for Dynasty?
Yeah, I love it for the Chiefs. They addressed the one glaring weakness they had, and that was exposed on the biggest stage. So they are making sure that they're not going to let that happen again. Obviously, barring any injuries, they addressed left tackle. They brought in Orlando Brown, which I love. It's a great deal. You're going to protect Mahomes' blindside here for the next 5 to 10 years. They brought in Joe Thuney, who again is another All-Pro lineman, and then they also have Jake Long, who came out of retirement to come play for this Chiefs team and also help solidify that offensive line. So as far as fantasy goes, obviously Mahomes, he's been the number one quarterback perennially, but I think this only really helps solidify that top spot because, I mean, if you keep him clean and standing upright, God, may Lord have mercy on those defenses. But the running back situation, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think this is really big for him too. If that line can help open up some holes a little bit more, give him some more space to work with, that could be huge for him. And then again, just those wide receivers will start to pay some dividends from Mahomes having endless time in the pocket.
Yeah, I mean, obviously for the Chiefs, it just makes them even more the number one offense in the league. So I don't really think that changed anything on anybody's rankings. It just makes them that much more potent.
And then getting that second rounder back too. So I mean, they traded down from 31 to 58, got their lineman, but now could also potentially add another weapon for Mahomes, possibly another interior lineman, or possibly a defensive piece. It kind of opened things up for them in the draft now with that trade down, but also solidified one of their glaring weaknesses.
Yeah, I think there's no question a great move for the Chiefs. Ravens side, what do you think about it? I mean, obviously, it sounds like they're giving up Orlando Brown's a great tackle. There's no doubt about that. He's probably one of the best in the league. He's only 25 years old, and the kid's got Hall of Famer written on him.
Pro Bowler already.
2-time Pro Bowler. So what do you think on their side, though? Was it a bad move? Was it a good move? What does it mean for the team?
I mean, with Ronnie Stanley coming back, he's going to go ahead and assume the role of left tackle. And like you had touched on before the podcast, a previous tweet from Orlando Brown, in all caps, stating he does not play right tackle. So rather than having a disgruntled right tackle, they went ahead and shipped him out, got another first-round pick. So now they have 2 picks in the top 32, which, again, it's good for them. They could address a line there or address a couple other issues they have with that offense. But then it also gives them three later picks in the draft as well. So I think that they're looking to certainly bring in some defensive pieces. That's what Baltimore does. They bring in these guys who are kind of unheralded, builds them up, makes that defense strong year in, year out. But as far as the offense goes, you'd like to see them possibly address that right tackle or look to bring another interior lineman in with either that first or that third-round pick.
Well, and that's actually the other news today. Alejandro Villanueva, they were talking about that he will be signed after the draft. They've agreed to terms, so they're waiting until the draft so they don't have to give up a compensatory pick in this draft. And once that clears, that fills that right tackle spot. So the Ravens are looking just fine afterwards as well.
I hope so. I mean, obviously with Lamar Jackson doing what he does and the strength of our offense really, relies on strong offensive line play. And if they struggle there, that offense as a whole could sputter.
Absolutely. They already have. I don't see them getting another running back, obviously, with that running back room the way it is already. But another receiver piece is big in Baltimore. So I would be really curious who they pick up at this point.
31. That could be a receiver right there.
7 or 31. That could be another one of our big receiver spots landing. I mean, they have those 2 picks, and I'm sure they're looking into it after only signing Sammy Watkins, missing out on Juju. So I would be very curious who the Ravens pick up in the first round, which I'm sure we'll talk about on Thursday.
Also of note, too, I mean, they did sign Zeitler over in the offseason as well. So that's, I mean, he's a very strong guard. So that's going to be another piece to just help him out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, both those teams, I think it was a great move for both. I knew the Ravens, obviously, they added the picks and they knew they had a replacement in Villanueva coming in. So they were okay with giving up a great tackle. And the Chiefs fixed their line. So both offenses look that much more potent in the AFC. If you have any one of those dynasty teams or fantasy teams in general, just be happy and look to see what they get in the draft. So
Chris could. But he's playing. He's playing.
Maybe. I don't know. We're in talks. We're talking about it. We'll see.
Wait, you're trying to make some.
We'll see.
Can we talk about it on air, or we're gonna wait till after? I guess we can't talk about it ever. We don't ever win.
Yeah, we gotta keep that one under wraps unless
Oh,
something
okay.
comes of it.
I'm stalling until the draft, to be honest.
Yeah, you gotta win the draft. That's the biggest part in Dynasty right now. People don't rush your trades and rush your picks. It's exciting. We all know the draft's happening. We all get really happy that football is kind of back for a minute. But you have the entire offseason. You don't have to rush into anything. You can take your time and wait until June, July, August and make those moves. So
It sounds like the both of you are speaking from experience.
that might be that March trade I made with you last year where I gave you the second pick for Darrell Henderson. That might have something to do with it. No. That's you know how to get me.
well.
I mean, Paris Campbell was involved in that as well, but it was still not great.
Yeah, it doesn't really make it much better, but yes.
So yes, I 100% agree with what Adam and what Chris are saying here. If you can, certainly wait until these guys have landing spots, just because you get a little bit more leverage out of those picks. Trading him as early as they did, I mean, obviously there was a lot of hype initially around the Darrell Henderson because we thought he was going to be the starter there. Rams go out and draft another running back, and so now that looks like a very murky situation. And Adam had already left himself in a bad position. So if you can, hold off until after the draft to trade those picks, I think that's when they will really start to gain more value.
And that's really, I was trying to put the gun on that. So I was like, oh, I can get Henderson cheap. For some reason, I thought that was cheap. Okay, but not for some reason. It was 3 a.m. We've been up for a minute, so I'll just say. Do not make rash decisions when you are not in your correct frame of mind. But
Don't drink and trade.
that's really I've done that many times, and Thomas is always the one who takes advantage. Smart. He's smart. That's just smart business.
Oh my gosh!
He's a businessman.
Right place, right time.
Moving on. Let's get on to our rankings. We'll go quarterbacks. Like I said, quarterbacks will do top 5, and tight ends will do top 5, and then running backs and receivers will give you our top 10 rankings heading into the draft, and then obviously who we are looking at, depending on landing spot, not depending on landing spot, et cetera, et cetera. So, Thomas, let's start with these quarterbacks. The big 5, really. It's everyone's talking about the same 5. I think the big 5 is the big 5 on everybody's board. So, how do you have them ranked?
I mean, really, like you're stating, it's all a matter of preference. I've got Trevor Lawrence, which I think it's a consensus top quarterback, top prospect in the class here. And then I've got Justin Fields at 2, just because I do like the prospects of him landing in San Francisco. He's a dual threat quarterback. He's not really lauded as that because he's very accurate and good with his arm, but his 4.4 speed showed that he can be very versatile and make you pay with his legs. Zach Wilson, I've got at 3. I do like what he can do with the way he throws the ball. He's still a project. I think he's one of those guys who could still get happy feet back there and maybe not make the correct initial decision. But I think with good coaching there, they've tried to change the culture there. I hope that really helps out for him. Trey Lance, I got at 4, who I think who is going to come in, I think, be the most pro ready and hopefully really let it loose in one of these offenses, which I keep hoping it's the Broncos. I just, for some reason, I see him really unlocking the key, unlocking that offense here in Denver. And then I got Mac Jones at 5. He might be a system quarterback, but he hasn't really shown me anything that's off the page that really makes me say, wow, I can't wait to have Mac Jones on my fantasy team.
Right. Yeah, we have the same top and bottom, Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones, top and bottom. However, the big difference between us, I got Trey Lance at 2, and I just love what he does. He's to me, he's more of a wild card. I don't think he's the most pro ready. He's young, and he doesn't have a lot of college snaps, so we're really kind of curious how that will translate to the NFL. But I just love the explosive nature. I love the fact that he comes in with a little bit of swagger. Comes with a chip on his shoulder, being from the smaller school, North Dakota State, the only small school guy really in this group. Mm-hmm. And I can see him jumping into a system like a Lamar Jackson, who kind of fell in the draft in 2018. 2018 was it? I believe so. And then came, out and outperformed the other quarterbacks ahead of him. And I just really like what he brings to the table. He can run, he can pass, he just has that it. And a little bit more leadership style or swagger with him that I haven't really heard out of the camps for Justin Fields or Zach Wilson or Mac Jones. There's not a lot of teammates swirling around them that you get with Trey Lance. Trey Lance just seems to have that little wow factor that I like more. I still also put I do give Fields some credit. I give him at 3, and then I got Wilson at 4. I'm not actually a big Wilson supporter, which we will get into in a second. But yeah, pretty similar. I think everyone knows it's really about Trevor Lawrence in this draft, and then the rest is kind of pick your
preference. It's
exactly.
a preference there. Yeah.
What you like. So, of these guys, who is your lock? Who or of them, who you like? Doesn't matter where they land, even though we know where at least 2 of them are landing.
Like I was touching on there about Fields, just that West Coast offense and that great offensive mind with Kyle Shanahan. I believe he would really utilize Justin Fields to his his max potential and really showcase what he can do. That national title game last year, that to me showcased what type of leader he is on the field. He never let them falter. He was not going to let them lose. He wasn't going to lose. So you love to see that as a competitor. And so I mean, if that's one of the guys you can get, I mean, and like so you're not huge on him, and maybe a lot of guys aren't, but I believe he's been rated as the most accurate passer in the draft class. But then you add in the fact he does have 4.3 speed out of the quarterback position. He could certainly start to make you pay with his arm and with his leg.
So you're saying if he gets drafted in San Fran in a super flex league, you're thinking top 3 with him still? You take him all the way up there?
Yeah, in a super flex, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. All right. I mean, I'm not really sold on these quarterbacks. In Superflex, you have to just because you need the quarterback position, and he's
that's the reason I do love the Fields is because you're going to get the rushing upside, even if he cashes in 40, 50 rushing yards. Out of the quarterback position, I mean, no other quarterback, I don't think, aside from maybe Trevor Lawrence, is going to offer you that sort of rushing upside.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's Trevor Lawrence. Really doesn't matter. I think he's just a lock. That's the top guy, and that's a must-have 1-1 if you're in Superflex. Potential first rounder if you need a quarterback in even non-Superflex leagues. The guy is he has he checks all the right boxes. Not in a great situation, but a pretty good situation in Jacksonville. They're up and coming, and they've got a new coach who can does well with quarterbacks, even though his system's not really pro ready. We're not sure yet. We'll find out how that translates. But Trevor Lawrence to me is really the only lock. I'm actually not really enamored with this quarterback class. I like Trey Lance, but I'm not, in a non-Superflex league, I'm talking about, second round waiver flyer on him, like late second round maybe, depending on where he lands. And any of these other guys, I'm really not sold. I'm not a Zach Wilson fan. He's probably going to go 1-2 in most leagues, in Superflex for sure. And I just don't like his. I see too much. Like you said, the happy feet. He's just not pro ready. He's going to be thrown into a team that's not ready to start him in New York, and there aren't a ton of weapons around him either. He's really set up to fail, and I don't know if he's that guy that can handle that, especially in an environment like New York.
I don't wanna disrespect his name too much, but at least on his BYU tape, he looks a lot like Johnny Manziel.
That's what I give him.
And obviously we saw how his game translated into the pros, and it was not pretty. But again, I don't want to say that they are the same exact player. I'm just seeing a lot of the same tendencies, and if those tendencies carry over to the pro level, he's not going to be very succursual.
And also, as of now, they don't have a veteran quarterback to help them out. They don't have anyone to show them the ropes. They currently have James Morgan and Mike White.
Ugh. Boy, that situation there is just the worst situation in football, and you're throwing a guy who's not even the best quarterback in this class into it. If I'm in a super flex, I'm taking him third behind whoever lands in San Fran, and even the San Fran quarterback's not a starter. I would probably, I'm telling you, I would avoid him at all costs. And in a non super flex league, I'm drafting him late if I draft him. If I'm desperate for a quarterback and I'm like, hey, I'll take somebody. I like if Sam Darnold was still on the Jets last year, he was a waiver wire pickup for a lot of guys. I might leave him on the waiver. Zach Wilson, I think, is really that. He's terrifying to me, and I don't think he's going to succeed there. But I know with the scarcity of the position and with Superflex especially, people are going to take him. Mm-hmm. I would just be very cautious. I would take him lower than the other quarterbacks, personally.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as the real NFL goes, too, it's more of a necessity for these bottom feeding teams. They have no quarterbacks, and so it really starts to build a market for the quarterbacks. It's more, I think they're desperate now to try to find their long-term answer, to try to find their Mahomes, to try to find their Lamar Jackson, to try to find whoever is going to be the answer for them the next 10 years. But I don't know that these guys are going to be necessarily it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so even Justin Fields, depending on where he lands, I can give him a shout. I might be curious where he is. Same with Trey Lance. I'll be like, hey, we'll see where he lands. Maybe I'll give him a draft somewhere. Mac Jones, to me, I honestly, I'd just leave him and would see if anything ever develops down the road. But I see him like a Mason Rudolph, just being the next throwaway in Pittsburgh, getting beat in the head by Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett bashes another helmet over Mac Jones' head this
Yeah,
time.
exactly. That's kind of what he looks like, a Bork Dorkweiler to me. So,
Wow.
not big on Mac Jones, obviously, but yeah.
I mean, I see a little bit of Matty Ice in him, but I think it's going to take the right situation and the right coaching staff to really bring all that out of him. And I mean, if he ends up in New England, that could be the place.
I know, right? Depending on landing spot, we'll find out Thursday, or I guess through the weekend. Running backs, let's move on. We'll go to the running back list. This is obviously a lot more intriguing, a lot more players to look at, a lot more landing spots to talk about. So that will depend on later in this draft. But how do you have them ranked as of now, Thomas?
Right now, I've got Najee Harris, number one, top dog there, just based off what he did in that championship game, showcasing his playmaking abilities, his receiving abilities. You love to see that in a PPR league, because if he's going to get you 5 catches and possibly go to a place where he's going to tote the ball 20 times, that's a locked-in RB1 for me. I've got Travis Etienne at number 2 there. And I think he's one of those guys who's should have came out last year, would have been arguably the best back coming out of the draft last year. Still a very, very good back. I think he ends up in a place where there is an established running back already, but I believe he's got the ability and the talent to carve out a nice role for himself and possibly even take over the reins as a starter somewhere. I've got Javonte Williams, number 3. I think I've said this on a couple of our shows. He's like Nick Chubb light to me, and that's what I see. He's a very good pure runner. Does break those arm tackles, and then he does have the track speed to get away once he's in the open field. So I really like the fact that if he goes somewhere, he could certainly take the reins as 3-down back. 4, I've got Trey Sermon. I just think he's getting disrespected a little bit. He's a good pass catcher, and can still run the ball between the tackles efficiently. He's not going to wow you with that downhill speed, but he does have the quick burst to hit holes, make his move, be decisive, and get you positive yardage. And like I said, I love the fact he's a pass catcher. And PPR, if your running back is catching passes, that immediately elevates them for me. Number 5, we got Chuba Hubbard, just because I believe he's one of those guys that's kind of getting slept on as well. Had he come out last year, he would have been one of those top 3 backs as opposed to the top 3 that actually went. And so I'm really intrigued to see where he goes, because he 100% has the potential to be a workhorse. It's not going to be pretty, but he's gonna pound you, and he's going to get you tired. And then once you're tired, he's going to break one off on you. Michael Carter, Kenneth Gainwell, Jamar Jefferson, I kind of have those guys lumped in together. They're kind of that scat back type that I think they're going to need to go somewhere behind an established runner and be that change of pace guy, be that Tariq Cohen, be that Gio Bernard. I don't see those guys really taking over as primary runners anywhere anytime soon. And then I've got Kyle Hill and Jared Patterson at 9 and 10. Just kind of for those same reasons. Those guys need to just kind of end up landing in spots. Like I know like Joshua Kelly last year ended up going to the Chargers, and they just didn't work out for him. They still had Eckler there, and I believe Malcolm Brown ended up really taking over and being more efficient and just more effective than Joshua Kelly.
Yeah, no, we're pretty similar on these rankings. I definitely I would put Etienne at top. Number 1, and then Harris behind him, Javonte Williams at 3. I think those 3 are really, to me, the elite running backs in this class, and I don't really. It always depends on landing spot with running backs, especially. But
As far as talent goes, I agree. Yep.
Yeah, I like Etienne a little bit better than Harris, just because of his speed. One thing about these running backs and a reason I have a lot of them lower on a lot of rankings, none of them have wowing speed. None of them are really wow size. None of them are really wow. It's just a lot of solid play. Unfortunately to me, I don't think that translates well into the NFL. You don't see a lot of guys who are just like, hey, I'm a good solid player. Like you're talking about with Chuba Hubbard. I'm not sure that he gets in the NFL and just brings that solid player mentality and all of a sudden becomes like a great NFL player. I don't like a lot of these running backs. Etienne at least has that speed to be the guy who could start breaking away. And I still like Harris and Williams, two up top there, just because they have a little bit more wow factor with their running style. So I like those three up top. After that, for me, I will give it to. I still like Kenneth Gainwell at 4. I just love his pass catching ability. That's a guy who can carve out a role somewhere. That's a guy who can actually get you some points in PPR leagues. James White style as a pass catching back, then in a week where you need a spot starter, he'll get you 5 to 7 catches for 40 yards. I'll give you a nice little 8 to 10 spot with when you're needing someone to step in and really fill the role when you're struggling in the middle of the season. And those I really don't see any of these backs doing more than that beyond the top 3. So I got Gainwell at 4. I put Carter at 5, Sermon at 6, Hubbard at 7, Jamar Jefferson at 8, and then Hill and Patterson at 9 and 10. I really, as I said with each of them, I like that what they do. I'm not wowed, and it really is going to depend on landing spots and opportunity for each of them, I think, to really do anything in the league. So for me, I'm looking at those top 3. I'll give Gainwell a look depending on if he gets in that third down role. And then obviously, if any of these other guys land in a great spot, it will be worth a draft pick. But I'm not too high on any of them. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as far as pro comps go, Najee Harris I see as being very similar to a Matt Forte. Matt Forte wasn't flashy, but Matt Forte was scoring 20+ points in fantasy every week. So you're not going to scoff at that. Yeah, Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams, those 3 guys I would say are solidified there in that. If you want to call it the top tier, whatever. They're the top dogs there as far as running backs go. Their talent is just, it's too immense, I think, for them to be ignored and fall into a running back by committee type role. You hear me gushing still about Chuba Hubbard. I think he's going to be a huge value come draft day. Obviously, it's going to depend on landing spot, but just given how I still think he's getting very disrespected. 2,000 yards rushing in college. In the Big 12, I get it, but still 2,000 yards rushing is not an easy feat. Otherwise, all these fucking running backs would be doing it, right? And so it's just one of those things. I want to keep an eye on him, see where he lands, and he could certainly be a draft day steal and be locked in as an RB2 come the start of the season.
Yeah, but I mean, like A.J. Dillon. I see him like an A.J. Dillon, A.J. Dillon coming into the draft last year. Everyone, ooh, he's great. He's got all this talent. Awesome. Landed in Green Bay. That might be the situation. All of a sudden, A.J. Dillon flying off draft boards. Or Aaron Jones, a free agent. They're going to get rid of him. Turns out, Aaron Jones is a really good running back. There are really good running backs in the NFL right now who are still pretty young. I don't see any of these guys really beating them out. And I see a lot of them as backup running backs with speculative ads and falling into situations. Really, we're looking at that New York Jets spot, looking at that Pittsburgh spot. Obviously, Pittsburgh's probably the number 1 spot. Everyone's looking at who they take at the running back position. Who else would you even look at? Maybe Buffalo as a running back spot.
I think if one of these guys, like a Trey Sermon or like a Chuba Hubbard, ends up in Houston, it's not pretty, but it's a clear path to touches because they have Mark Ingram there, they have David Johnson there. Those are both damaged goods. I mean, Mark Ingram was healthy scratch for about 8 weeks last season, so I don't know exactly what they're doing bringing him in. They also brought in Phillip Lindsay. I don't think that those guys are long-term answers, especially if you can get one of these guys out of the draft.
Personally, for me, I just see this running back class as, once again, in most drafts that it usually happens, overhyped. I think this one's an overhyped class that's going to disappoint a lot of people. So I really want to see those top 3. I'll give, obviously, like you said, with each guy does depend on the landing spot. We'll see in the preseason and as things start to develop, really who turns out more. But as of right now, I'm not wowed, and I'm a little underwhelmed, to be honest, this year.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just keeping my eye on Hubbard because, if he slips to middle of the second round in rookie drafts, I'm gonna try to make a trade. I'm gonna try to get that because I think that that's a steal. I really do.
Yeah, I don't. We'll see. Speaking of underhyped or overhyped, why don't we move on to receivers? Because this, honestly, to me, this draft's about the receivers. I have a top 10 list, and I could probably go beyond that about where I want to see some of these guys land. There is entirely too much talent at the receiver position, in my opinion, and I think almost everyone in the league's talking about this talented receiver class. So, without further ado, I guess where do you have them ranked?
Yeah. Actually, I'm sorry. Just to kind of bring back something real quick, touch on something. Eli was Elijah
Oh,
Mitchell.
right.
Has been shooting up draft boards, and is a guy that I think to keep, again, just keep your eye on. Obviously, no one's really standing off the page, but the fact that he was a 2-star recruit coming into college, didn't get a lot of respect, was still very, very productive, even when splitting carries, and right now is really turning some pro prospect heads. So maybe keep an eye on him, and he ends up in one of those spots where it's a clear path to touches, and he ends up being the Cinderella, if you will, of this running back class.
Definitely, you can always find those late sleepers. You never know.
Yep.
And you also were talking about how fast Etienne is. Elijah Mitchell is faster. So according to the pro days, he ran a 4.38 40, where Etienne was 4.41. I mean, super close, but he's just a little bit faster.
He runs fast shuttle and a faster 3-cone too.
Yeah, just sub 4 times they're elite. That's NFL worthy, and that's what you need to have in the league. So it's worth looking at.
But yeah, to go ahead and kick it off with the wide receivers, I've got Jamar Chase for the obvious reasons. The guy's a monster, and I think anywhere he lands, he's going to make an immediate impact. He's going to be the go-to guy there. I believe he's the first unanimous wide receiver prospect since Calvin Johnson. Consensus just top overall there.
Yeah, he looks
Devontae Smith, I still like what he does. He needs to put on some size, which I think he will still do, but even if he puts on size, whatever, his hands are amazing. He doesn't drop anything thrown his way he's going to catch. He makes spectacular catches, even for how small and unsuspecting he is. He's very acrobatic in a sense, but his route running is just on another level.
He reminds me of DeAndre Hopkins a little bit, actually.
Yeah.
Talk about that. But anyway,
Devontae Smith. It just all depends on that landing spot. Right now, they're mocking him to the Giants, and I don't know how I feel about that quite yet. But it sounds like they would love to air it out with him.
Yeah, weird.
This one kind of turned some heads today. I've got Elijah Moore at number 3. I really just like his playmaking ability, and again, wishful thinking on my end. I see him, and I've seen the mocks of him going to Green Bay, unless Green Bay trades that pick away, which is certainly possible. But if he goes there and he has Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball, he could be a prime Randall Cobb his first couple years in the league already. And, that's... I think he was 80, 90 catches for 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. And so I'm taking that, As far as everything below that, Jalen Waddle, no disrespect on Jalen Waddle. His landing spot is just a little bit more murkier because, like I was talking about earlier, that 12 to 20 is just kind of up in the air. There could be some draft day trades, a lot of movement to where some teams aren't needing a receiver in that spot. And so he could possibly drop to the early 20s. And I'm just not sure exactly where he might land. Terrace Marshall, as we've seen with LSU wide receivers, they're all amazing, and he's been playing second fiddle to Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase over the last 3 years, and so it's his time to shine. And he's a big body wide receiver that could be a red zone threat and a mismatch nightmare for anybody. Rashad Bateman, I've got at 6. Amon-Ra St. Brown at 7. Those two guys, I think, behind Devontae Smith, arguably are going to be two of the best route runners in the draft class. Rashad Bateman. Had he come out last year, would have been one of the first receivers off the board, and I don't think anything's changed just because he opted out of a season in which we were in the middle of a pandemic. So I don't think that should really take anything away from the type of prospect that he is. At 8, I got Rondale Moore, which I know I caught a little bit of flack from you. The thing with him and Elijah Moore, if Rondale Moore gets drafted to Green Bay, the roles are reversed. It's going to be all about landing spots. I really like what he does offer, and I think he's going to be a slot receiver, making an immediate impact right off the bat. Kadarius Toney needs to work on his hands, but he's one of the guys I really love as far as just doing everything. He's going to run the ball from behind, from the backfield. He's going to catch the screens and even make plays downfield. But he's going to start his career, I believe, as a special teamer, kind of like the Cordero Pattersons, the Devin Hester type that we hope will turn into an electric wide receiver. Then I've got Tylan Wallace at number 10 there.
Yeah, I mean, we agree for the most part on this list, except the big difference, as you mentioned, was your higher ranking of Elijah Moore than I have. But that's, I mean, I still think Elijah Moore could be a great talent. Number 1 and 2 are still, for me, Chase and Smith. I don't like that you have anyone over other than those two over Jalen Waddle. I think Jalen Waddle's entirely too electric, and it really to me doesn't. You're saying it's murky where he lands. I don't think it matters. What this guy's so.
We said the same. We said the same thing about Ruggs last year, and he landed in Las Vegas, and we're like, "Oh, this is fantastic. They love to throw the ball. They love speed." He has a down year as a rookie, and now he's just being disregarded. So I could see the exact same thing happening with these type of players. People want to throw them out like they're yesterday's news after one bad year, but I don't think that's the case with these guys. You have to let them develop and turn into polished NFL wide receivers and really start to figure out their route trees. But like I said, don't get me wrong, I love Jalen Waddle, but let's look at Ruggs as a prime example of those speed Alabama guys.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Obviously, I still have Waddle at 3. I think he's just unbelievably talented, and you got to give him some credit. I got Bateman at 4. I do like his talent just a little bit higher than yours, but I still think all these guys are great. Terrence Marshall at 5. Amon-Ra St. Brown at 6. My fault. My fault. I had Rondell Moore at 4. And then Rashad Bateman at 5. Move everybody down one slot. I was moving out Rondell Moore. But yes, I still like. I mean, Elijah Moore, same thing. I still moved him all the way down my list. I have Terrace Marshall a little higher than Amon-Ra St. Brown. Elijah Moore at 8. I do also like the talent Kadarius Toney at 9. Kind of curious where he goes. He's really raw, but like you said, Devin Hester, Dante Hall style. I want to see how explosive he can be, and I'll give him a top 10 spot. And then Tylan Wallace at 10. I don't really think any of these top 10, though. Even De'Ami Brown after that at 11. And there's just guys who are just – there's so many receivers that it does depend on landing spot for the lower guys, but I'm really excited about this class.
Yep.
Who are you least worried about landing spot-wise? Which guys do you just like – it doesn't matter where they go? I'm taking that guy.
Well, I mean, the obvious answer would be Jamar Chase, right? I mean, I don't think it matters where he goes, but he's one of those guys. Rashad Bateman, just like we were talking about, he's pro ready, and he's going to come in and make an immediate impact. He's got good hands. He's a great route runner. He's a team guy. He really is a competitor and wants to win. And so I think anywhere that he goes, he's going to make an immediate impact just on the wide receiver room, and then just on an offense as a whole. And so depending on his landing spot and where he lands in these rookie drafts, again, if you're looking at middle of the second round for Rashad Bateman, I'm all over that.
Yeah, I mean, it does depend on landing spots. You have to remember what each of these guys does best, and if you got a guy like Chase obviously doesn't matter; he can go anywhere. But a guy like Bateman can play. He's a stronger outside receiver. If he's in a good position to be outside and have a good supporting cast around him, he could really get out there and do well. If you put him in a spot where he has to be the lead guy right away, it might have to temper expectations for a year or two. But
Sure.
That's why I just think Waddle with his player projection. I just like where he goes. I'm not really worried where he lands, to be honest. I think he's so electric. He's more electric than Ruggs, in my opinion. Ruggs is fast. Waddle's elusive. And it's just crazy when he touches the ball. He can just make things happen. I don't know if he's going to get in the end zone as much in the NFL, but I see him like a Tyreek Hill type pretty quick.
That's the player comp across the community there. So
exactly. I mean, he's like that. He's just so fast and he's just so fun to watch. So I really am not worried about him. Devontae Smith, same thing. Those guys, doesn't matter where they land. Other guys, I'd even put them, depending on landing spot, I'm still targeting all 10 of these guys in my first round. I don't know if any of these guys, talent-wise, is really out of the question. Terrace Marshall is really intriguing.
Terrace Marshall, don't sleep on Terrace Marshall.
I think he's a late first-round draft pick in almost any dynasty league, and he could be even higher. This kid, he's been in the shadow, as you mentioned, of a lot of great receivers. He's not a bad receiver at all. And the big knock on him is that he doesn't care about football because he's being overshadowed. But he's about to go into his own. He's about to have a chance to come out and start making the big bucks. I think he could really, depending on where he goes, blossom into something big. So
it's all about that mentality. As long as he stays mentally strong and he comes in with the confidence,
right?
He could be a steal in this draft to whoever drafts him in the NFL and in Dynasty.
Right. Amon-Ra St. Brown, another kind of guy where it's like he can do so many different things. I want to see where he goes. I mean, I really love every single guy on this list. And I don't think you can really go wrong with these receivers. Obviously, the top 3 guys, in my opinion, are the guys who are the guys. But, it's really just talented.
I think another guy, maybe to just kind of keep your eye on. We were looking at him earlier, Anthony Schwartz.
Yep.
Pure burner, very raw, but I think if he can get polished in to one of these scat back wide receivers or just a premium slot guy, he could certainly start to build himself some fantasy value as well.
Yeah, what was it, Chris? Do you have his 40 time? Weren't you talking about?
Yeah, 4.27.
Yeah, 4.27. Jesus. I mean, that's a guy. He's
But he had
not
like the worst
high.
vertical too, I think.
Yeah, 32-inch vertical, so not great. Yeah, second worst.
Doesn't jump high, but he
from
run
what I have pulled
fast.
He runs fast. Put him in a direction. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't take him early, but he's definitely got to watch where he goes because
Yep.
he could be fun. He could put up some huge numbers if he ever gets a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
If we look at it too, I mean, Jamar Chase was 4.34, and then Dwayne Eskridge was 4.38.
Dwayne Eskridge is another
And
name I keep hearing
Kadarius
about.
Tony
yeah,
at
Dwayne
4.38.
Yeah, Marion. There are a lot of guys in this wide receiver class that are going to be really good. It's just
Kadarius Tony's hands is literally the only reason I don't have him in the top 5 of the rookies.
yeah, absolutely.
He's a stud though.
He's undersized, but he makes plays. There's so much electricity in all the
All these wide receivers are electric.
Jeez, I'm drooling. I would be surprised. Yeah. Like we're talking about, you might see 7 first-round draft picks on with receivers in this, on Thursday.
On the first round, yeah. And that would be great because then we'd have a ton of talk about Thursday night.
Definitely have a lot of time. Ooh, coming Thursday. Get ready. All right.
And the receivers too. Once you draft them, I mean, if you hit on it, that's 10-year commitment.
Yeah.
If you want to keep them the whole time, I mean, so that's one of those things. You build up young receivers, you get them together, and then you fill in those running back spots, and then you're solid.
I think receiver in Dynasty is if you have a team that's struggling, that's the one position where you can flip an entire team around because you can get good receivers later in every draft with those second and thirds. You can find those guys that can become great players, and then you can flip those assets into even bigger assets. Receiver is really the position that's how you rebuild because, as you mentioned, you get them for a long time. You can get guys who put up a lot of points. And then you can use those assets to get even more out of them to really fill the running back room. So, very good point there. I love this receiver class. This could be one of those years where if you have a lot of picks, look at those receivers. Moving on, tight ends. We'll give our top 5 tight ends. We have more to talk about than that, but not too much more to talk about. Thomas, who do you got at tight end?
Kyle Pitts.
Yep. And then...
I'm done. Listen, if you don't get the unicorn, you might as well just throw in the towel at tight end. I don't sincerely mean that. Obviously,
Yeah.
you wanna still be able to fill out that tight end position, but even with the established tight ends in the league, they're all kind of dart throws right now. So anytime you have rookies coming in, as we know, it takes 3-4 years before these guys even start really paying dividends. So Pat Freiermuth really would be the second guy in this one horse race. But everybody else, Brevin Jordan, Hunter Long, and Kenny Yeboah, you can take the lotto ticket and hope that they hit, and you can snag yourself a top 14 tight end. But if you don't get a Kyle Pitts,
Yeah, you're
I don't know
probably
I don't know what else to say.
As I just mentioned, this is one of those drafts where you rebuild with receivers. Don't waste a roster spot on these tight ends. I kind of agree. It's really Kyle Pitts. You need Kyle Pitts, and we're still talking. Yeah, I still don't think it matters where he lands. He's top 5 in any dynasty league, and Superflex maybe top 7. But
Yeah.
it's hard to find tight ends. I'll give Pat Freiermuth a little bit of a nod. He'll probably be drafted. You could probably look for him in the 3rd round. And it's
Good overall tight end. Good blocker. Good hands.
Yep.
He's your prototypical tight end. Yeah. He's your Jack Doyles. He's your Dallas Clarks.
Yes.
Well, Dallas Clark. Sorry, is kind of your Kyle Pitts. But he's one of those guys who's going to possibly offer you some tight end upside here over the next few years. As far as an immediate impact, though, I don't see much coming out of Freiermuth. Brevin Jordan, Hunter Long, and Kenny Yeboah are going to be secondary tight ends helping block, possibly playing special teams.
Yeah, we saw this last year. Everyone talking about, oh my God, I had his name on the top of my head a second ago. Cole Kmet and Adam
Troutman.
And everyone was saying, oh, they're so great. That's going to be the guy. Everyone drafted them. They're like, this is going to be the guy. And now we're in year 2 with each of them. I mean, first year, they didn't do anything. And year 2, not looking that much better. Obviously, they're stepping into starting roles.
We'll see.
But
Yeah.
we'll see about the production. I still, like, tight ends, even in starting roles, don't have that kind of production. So we're still saying, I mean, I like both situations. I like both players. I don't know how much you can expect from them. We're not really looking at huge numbers, whereas a Kyle Pitts is giving you that huge number potential from a tight end position. I really don't see anything else outside of that.
Chris and I were talking earlier, and Jared Cook he signed with the Chargers early in the offseason, so Troutman's going to be the man there. I don't know that the Bears have brought back Jimmy Graham quite yet, so Cole Kmet is going to be the man there. But again, like we mentioned, it does take 3 years for these guys to really start to come into their own. If these guys, which they're athletic pass catchers and they can block very well, this could be the year that maybe they show us differently. You know, the second-year breakout could be real with those two guys, but obviously I'd rather have a Kmet or a Troutman over Freiermuth or Brevin Jordan, you know, and so that just kind of lets you know where we rank these guys in regard to the other tight ends, because if we have Troutman and Kmet kind of coming in at like that 15-16 mark, Brevin Jordan and Kyle Long, Hunter Long, they're going to be coming in at the 20-21 mark, you know.
Yeah, if I'm recommending right now, if you're thinking about drafting one of these other tight ends at the late second, early third, or any third round pick, try and trade that pick and try and get another tight end, like a Blake Jarwin or an established tight end who's been in the league for a minute, who knows the system, because they're going to have a lot better chance to come out and do something for your fantasy team than any of these guys. I mean, look at T.J. Hawkinson. You're talking about that second-year bubble. That guy had all the talent in the world, drafted high in the actual league, is still considered one of the best tight ends in the NFL, and doesn't put up fantasy production to the level that you would hope for an elite tight end like him.
Right.
So I don't expect that out of Cole Kmet. I don't expect that out of Adam Troutman, even though they're in leading roles in those in on their team.
For sure.
I just don't see any of these tight ends really stepping in anywhere, because there aren't a lot of teams that need, and obviously the talent, they're not going to come out and wow any team with their talent right away. So if you're looking for tight end help, probably look elsewhere.
So I have an honest question here. So why does it take so long for the tight end to break out? I mean, is it positional scarcity, you know, where they have to kind of fight their way through the depth chart? Do they have to learn? Is it a more complicated position? Like what?
Yeah. So tight end is always the hardest position on offense, because you have to learn all of the offensive line calls and all the offensive line terminology, which is very complicated and it changes play to play. So you have to know all the blocking schemes. You have to know who to get, who's marking which man, and learn all of that just to get on the field. And then most of the time you're doing that, so that's more important than the receiving side. And then you also have to be quick enough to be a receiver as a tight end. Zach Ertz was a good example for me coming out of college, but he was a really great receiving tight end. Took 5 years to really even get on the field. And then when he did, he obviously showed what he could do as a tight end one for a couple of years, but only for a few years. And now he's already fallen all the way off of anybody's list at only 30 years old. It's just a really hard position to get on the field in the NFL at, and quarterbacks don't even look that way that often. A lot of them are used as blockers more than receivers. So
exactly, that was going to be my point, is that early on in their careers, they're trusted more as blockers than they are pass catchers, so they don't see a large target share in the beginning of their career unless your name is Travis Kelce, or even then it took him a couple of years. And then once Patrick Mahomes came to town, his career took off. Rob Gronkowski, really, those two guys, and a Darren Waller even maybe, are really the only guys who are the top share target share getters on their teams. With most other tight ends, you don't get that, because they have either more talented wide receivers, more talented running backs, or they just don't scheme the tight end in as much. So it just takes time for either them to carve out a role or prove that they are reliable, or break out in a freakish way like Kelce and Gronk.
Yeah. It really comes down to that blocking side of things, and people really drool over the receiving aspect in fantasy, because we're like, hey, that guy he's a great receiving tight end, he can put up those numbers. Like a Kyle Pitts right now. Everyone's like, holy cow, this kid he's a receiver. He's a receiver's body playing the tight end position. That looks great. How long is it going to take him to learn the blocking schemes? That's his holdback in the NFL. It's the only thing with Kyle Pitts that you have to worry about, because obviously the receiving talent's there. He's going to make plays. And any team that drafts him is going to put him in a position to do what he does best. So I don't worry about that with him. But that is the only thing you have to worry about, because if he is on a team that forces him to block more, how long will it take him to be an effective blocker? Can he be trusted on the field in goal line situations if he can't block? I mean, you got guys in
I'm putting him on the goal line.
Goal line looks because they can't block. So all of a sudden, that guy's value is gone. Kyle Pitts, he will not be put in that situation. They're going to put him up. But that's just something to think about with the tight end position, which is why it takes so long for these guys to develop. And it's the hardest position on offense outside of the quarterback.
Fair points.
Because you have to learn everything. So yeah, we'll see. I agree, Thomas. None of these tight ends mean anything. So moving on. And moving on, by the way, to the draft, which is coming up on Thursday. We will give it a full reaction on next Sunday with the draft. Moving forward, what does it mean with all these different landing spots? We'll kind of go over it. That's probably going to be a longer special for us.
Well, actually, I think we're penciled in for the mock draft on Sunday.
Oh, right. We're going to do we're going to go right to the mock draft.
We're going to do the rookie mock on Sunday once all the rookies are nice and cozy in their new homes, and just kind of get some early mock out of the way. I mean, I know that there's a lot of the communities kind of doing mocks right now, but I really like the fact that we're going to hit it the night after the entire draft. So again, it's going to be easier to gauge the value on some of these guys, and then we can start to put them in our. Gosh, I hate using the word tiers. You know what I mean? But put them in. Put them in their certain tiers on when you want to target them or how you want to value them. But I'm really looking forward to that one.
Oh, we're all looking forward to it. This is Dynasty season. Dynasty season starts on Thursday. This is where everyone gets into it, because after this, we know where everybody's at. Now the picks are going to start moving. Everyone wakes up again. Trade.
Yep. Everyone opens that app again.
Absolutely. So we're going to start giving, like I said, we're at rapid reactions. We're going to give you that mock draft, and then we're going to start talking trades moving forward. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. We got to wait until Thursday for that to happen. So get excited, folks. Once again, Adam Skinner, Thomas Lozano, Chris Roth out in Denver, Colorado. Pastor Checkman's crew.
Yeah, make sure if you're listening, you're on YouTube, you're on Buzzsprout, leave a comment. A 5-star rating, obviously, is much appreciated. Like, subscribe, turn notifications. We'll annoy you every week with a new episode. But we're going to be bringing you some powerful knowledge here in the next coming weeks with these rookies starting to get new homes.
Yes, we got Facebook and Instagram too. Yep. I mean, we're everywhere.
Everywhere. Subscribe, give us your comments. We want to hear more from you. We'll start incorporating that in our shows. And then be ready later in the year when we start giving your leagues grades. We'll talk more about that as we move forward.
Yeah, I mean, if we can start getting some questions, I feel like we've got maybe 7 minutes left, and we could certainly do a question segment, but I don't think we've got anything quite yet. But send those in, and we'll be more than happy to address them. Trade questions, value questions, roster spot questions, cuts, ads, whatever you want to ask. Feel free.
We got the knowledge. Past projections once again. We'll talk to you on Thursday.
This guy's full of shit. He's not a believer in Jalen Hurts.
You got AJ Dillon and Henry Ruggs,
Oh, don't even. Nah, they're not. I'll put them in the same sentence.
And I didn't have to pay up.
Yeah.
Still Burrow.
How many guys do you have left on your board?
Who is left here?